City of West Tawakoni's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for May 1st at 7 p.m. We will begin with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. And we'll proceed to item number 3, attendance. Oh, you want to start us off?
Pardon?
Attendance.
Lee Bledsoe,
Crystal Woodruff,
Chris Bonowitz,
Caleb Gilbert.
Cecilia Irvin,
Chris Wary.
And Michael is not present. We have a quorum. We'll move on to item number 4. We'll call the regular session to order at 7 o'clock. Move on to item number 5, citizens' input. I don't believe we have anybody here tonight. So we'll move on to items, can we combine 6 and 7? Is it the same? Can? Okay. So we'll combine 6 and 7 together. Item number 6 is discuss and or action to approve or deny replat 108 Kings Bridge, West Tawakoni, Texas 75474. Legal description S2157B tree. Investments addition, lot 1, acres 1.48 or 428. Property ID number 101797. Zone single family 2 SF2, and requested to replat into 6 lots with a road. And that 6 lots is a typo, right?
oh, yeah.
should be 10 lots.
So it should be 5
It's 10
lots.
Yeah,
We'll correct that to 5 lots. And then item number 7 is discuss and or action to approve or deny replat 112 Kings Bridge, West Tawakoni, Texas 75474. Legal description S2157B tree. Investments addition, lot 2, acres 1. Property ID number 238498, zone single family 2, SF2, and requested is to replat into 6 lots with a road. And we'll correct that to 5 lots as well. All right. Any discussion?
I got a question.
All right.
So when we're saying it's 5 lots, that's 5 lots on each side of the street. Right?
That's correct.
So there'd be
So
a total of
Total of 10 lots.
10 lots. Oh. On each of those. That would be lot, what's the letter on that? Anyway, both different replats have 10 lots. This is Chris. B.
So no, I believe the properties are split down the middle. So 1 acre on one side of the road, 1 acre on the other side. So 5 lots on one side, 5 lots on the other. 10 lots total.
All right.
So we just have them split up into two action items. Correct, right, Shannon?
Correct. Yeah, they went back and made it what you requested that they do in the last meeting.
So they combined the lots around
The
the
2
cul-de-sac.
end lots, yes, and made each lot just a little bigger.
Good idea.
Yes.
And so the now it says right-of-way dedication. So does that mean the city's going to be adopting the roads now? You're still not adopting the roads?
Not to my knowledge.
Because it does say that now, right-of-way dedication.
Well, I think that's because either way they still have to have easements and stuff for the people to be able to have the road.
Okay.
And then we'll have our water lines, obviously, sewer lines, and there might even be something for FEC in there.
Okay.
I'm trying to get them to start putting FEC easements in the flats also, because we're having some issues obtaining easements for FEC now. Well, FEC is having issues obtaining easements.
Okay.
Will those be underground cable or will they
I have
be
no idea.
wire? We don't know yet.
FEC does that.
Now on these roads, he can put any kind of road he wants. He can put a stone road, a dirt road, or
Right now, he can do rock, reclaimed, asphalt, concrete.
My understanding from the gentleman said he wanted the blacktop. But,
I think the plan is to do asphalt.
but the only thing I'm saying, I mean, I think you mentioned last week there was some subdivision you were taking over the roads. I mean, in the future, you may take over this road. The city may take over this road.
We would only choose to adopt it once. So they would have to meet certain specs. They would have to have all these inspections done. It's the plan to adopt it in the beginning, which is not currently the plan.
So if they build a substandard road, the city won't take it over.
Yeah, it will be written into their stuff that the homeowners are responsible for that road. It's an easement, basically.
Isn't that kind of just a little sore spot?
It's like a private road.
I know, but they might always have a bad road in the city. It might just, I mean, I think, not Maze Lane, but the one Rabbit, that was used to be an awful road. Now it's a city road, correct?
City owns it.
But I mean, driving down that thing, it was like, I mean, that was,
But right now, we have no regulations, right, on what our roads can be.
Planning to adopt that, no. We do not have anything that requires it to be specific, no.
So that's
we have nothing to stand on to make them do any kind of road.
Yeah, so until we go through all these processes to get subdivision regulations put in, engineering standards, we don't have anything
Who would
to
do
go by.
that, the city council or?
We're gonna look at that here a little bit later.
This is just replatting, right? So we're not
We're
really.
just replatting it to the.
And it is
lots.
preliminary, so they still have to come back with plans, engineering plans, final plat, and we'll see all that again. Well, our consultants will go through all
Once
that.
it's done, once the whole thing is done, then we would approve the final plat. Like everything's put in, installed, passed inspections.
Well, his plans are fine, so. but-
Yeah. I'm fine with the plots. At least he did what we asked.
So I guess, we could, I, recommend we approve it then, since he did go down to our 5 lots.
Okay. We have a motion to approve items 6 and 7 by Chris Wary,
Second.
second by Lee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 8, discussion regarding the creation of new zoning and subdivision ordinances with Caitlin Higgins and Dalton Aiken with Public Management Inc.
Evening, everybody. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
I know I've met some of y'all at council meetings in passing. My name is Caitlin Higgins. I'm currently working with my boss, Dalton Aiken, and Jacob Martin on y'all's comprehensive plan the city's adopting. However, from the comprehensive plan, the city of West Tawakoni and their council also hired us to do a zoning update as well as a subdivision regulation update. So today, I'm kind of going to address all of that and let y'all know what's coming down the line, what council signed y'all up for, because it's going to be a lot. And then also, I want to go over the future land use map for the comprehensive plan purposes. That way we can get that wrapped up and get started on zoning as soon as possible. So first of all, the council adopted a resolution to award us the contract for zoning and subdivision regulations about a month and a half ago now. And so that's going to entail a whole new zoning ordinance. So the ordinance that y'all are working off now will be taken aside, and this will be y'all's new one. And it will also be a whole new subdivision ordinance as well. We've already started working on drafting these. Shannon has a copy. I believe she shared it with all of y'all as well. I don't know if she shared this with you when she shared it, but it is a very draft version. So this is kind of what we call our template version, our masked version that we can kind of send to any city and get their feedback on, and then we go back and make all the revisions and edits specific to the city that is adopting it. So that process probably won't start, if I'm being honest, for about another 3 months. Zoning takes that map right there being adopted before we can do anything, because to adopt zoning legally, it must be in conformity with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan must be adopted along with the future land use map. So we will start working on that as soon as possible. However, I know it's a long document, so I don't know if y'all have gotten a chance to even look at it. So over the next couple months, you'll see my face a lot either here or at council. I'm also an email away. Shannon has my contact. I also have cards. So if y'all are reviewing it and have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know and we can address those as they come up, because it will be a lengthy back and forth. The goal of adopting a new zoning ordinance is when Dalton and I first came in nearly a year ago, I guess, working on the comprehensive plan, Shannon discussed a lot of issues that she's having planning-wise in general with the entire city. We sat down with her, went over the current zoning ordinance, went over the current subdivision regulations, discussed some of the issues with them. There's a lot of legal things that are not up to date within both of those documents. And so that's the reason this decision has been made to move forward. Is there any questions on those two documents themselves? Go for it.
Okay, this is Cecilia. I did review the 190 pages that were sent.
I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
So I guess my first question was, is this just I think what you just said is a portion of what's going to be coming? And it's going to revise the book we've been given?
Yes, so that will completely throw away the current book, and it will be your new book. It will be all your new ordinances. Kind of. Do you have other things? You will throw away the zoning portion of that book. Do they have other things in there?
Except some of that zoning won't go in effect until certain properties are purchased.
Yes, that is true.
So our old zoning stays in place,
yes.
but once people start selling properties after that's adopted, then the new zoning comes in because it becomes non-conforming and then it becomes conforming. So we'll kind of have to work off of two books.
Well, basically, they're grandfathered until.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can explain that a little bit better if y'all would like me to. What will happen is, say we adopt this October 31st of 2025. Any properties that are bought or sold after October 1st of 2025 will have to abide by the new zoning code. Any properties that have been bought or sold before that date will technically be grandfathered into the old zoning ordinance, besides for two things. One is amortization, which is something I'm discussing with Shannon now that we can choose to include or not, which is pretty much a time period of which after that time they have to become conforming. They have to decide, they have to change over to the new zoning ordinance. And the second thing deals with manufactured homes. So if there's a manufactured home in a district that we zone single family, they would only be able to put one more manufactured home on that lot, and then they must comply to the new zoning ordinance as well. That's kind of to answer your question better, you will be using this book for any properties that were bought or sold before the adoption date. You will use the new binder for any bought or sold after the adoption date.
Okay. So, say somebody buys a lot that's the substandard lot after the adoption date, but then, if you buy a big lot and you subdivide it, it makes sense. But what if they're buying a lot in one of our older subdivisions that was platted in the 60s? How does this translate to those lots?
So Shannon and I are working on all lots that, when it comes to sizing requirements, will be okay. When it comes to your setbacks, your lot size, things like that. So your SF2, which is 4,800 square feet, will stay the same to accompany those older residencies that are already in place. However, there will also be new ones that will come up for anything that is newer built. We will have newer districts, as you see in there. Shannon and I have already discussed changing a lot of those. So the text you see in there, 7.5, 10, and 15, there will be 5 districts that are different than those ones with different lot sizes.
And we would be pulling the manufactured out of, so like, for instance, SF4 right now allows for manufactured and stick-built.
Okay.
We would have a manufactured district.
Okay.
That is correct. Which you could still stick-built if you wanted to, but it's manufactured. That way we're not taking and throwing manufactured in.
All over the city.
The main goal of the zoning ordinance is, some of it's going to be a lot of work, and there's going to be a new piece of growing pains. That's with almost every ordinance that a city chooses to adopt. However, the goal is that over time it will allow the city to develop in a much more organized way and in a way that will enhance the day-to-day lives of people and also create more cohesive neighborhoods and things like that.
What yearbook of the codes are you using?
We're using housing standard codes. It's whatever year the city has adopted.
18 right now.
18.
So the zoning ordinances, we just reference whatever year the city has adopted instead of enforcing a different one within the text itself.
Yeah. And when it's referenced that way, then we don't have to go modify this every time we adopt a new set.
I think it's worded exactly to be the most current year that the city has adopted and or the deadline date that has to be adopted by the state.
So I did type up what I found
Mhm.
in the sheets, so I don't know if you guys want copies of this. I brought several copies.
I
to
will
you by
take
gladly.
a copy gladly.
Do you want what I found? You'll share them with
Thank you.
Shannon.
Thank you. Shannon, they're actually a good friend.
Yes.
Some of these I will try to answer today if I have answers, and some of these I might come back and answer at a later date or send Shannon an email.
So some of these, like where it references Highway 80, it's because it's the blanket ordinance. It's not
Yes.
specific to our city yet.
Yeah, I figured that there's a couple of spots
Yes.
like that, but I just wanted to point
It was
them out.
like
so that we
here's
would
what we're
catch
gonna
it.
use, and then we go in and modify it.
Yeah, so 70, so the bottom one is one of those. The page 60, sorry, I'm working from the bottom up. Page 69, we're very well aware that you are trying to get rid of RV parks. The rec district, I kind of want to go in detail. I got to go in detail with council last time I was here. Recreational is what we are trying to make as the new RV kind of safe haven area. In a good way, not in a hindrance to the city way. So RV parks as they stand right now, at least in West Tawakoni, I know have a very large issue with living in the RVs or RVs that are being used for dwelling purposes. That should not be. So by making a recreational district, we pretty much say that RVs aren't allowed anywhere. Besides, if you look at this map to the right, those four light green areas, those are the only places RVs are allowed. And then on top of that, RVs at that point must be to a certain standard, certain code. They must be temporary dwelling units. The code enforcement officer has the right to go out there, and if someone's been hooked up for longer than a certain period of time, to notice them a issue to leave, and to also put whoever the business owner of the RV park is to do a fine. Things like that. Notices and all that type of stuff. Pretty much it takes y'all's ordinance right now and restricts it a lot, because in idea, when my company builds a zoning ordinance, we want to look at the nature of the community. West Tawakoni is a lakeside community, so RV parks are always going to somewhat be a thing, especially if West Tawakoni in the future wants to focus on tourism and just overall the lake itself and using the resources from it. And so that's kind of where we built that recreational district. This district was actually built entirely for the city of West Tawakoni. We did not have this prior to start working with y'all. There is some, we do understand, trying to get rid of RV parks, and we're going to try to do that the best way we can with all the limitations possible, giving Shannon the tools to actually enforce it, versus right now they're kind of just allowed wherever with very little regulation.
But if they're already RV park, already planted, they don't have to change anything.
They would no longer be allowed to be that.
If they sell.
If they sell. But if they stay there and mom dies and granddad dies and they give it to the kids and all that stuff, it just continues to grow and grow and grow.
And how does that work also? Because all the light green is all SRA property, so it would never actually sell. It's all leased.
That is a lead question. I've discussed with Shannon a lot that when it comes to SRA property, that is going to be a very big question mark. The goal on our behalf is that SRA tries to work with most of the cities that they are partnered with, and so they will pretty much, from the discussions I've had with Shannon, they'll respect the new ordinance and go by the new ordinance unless there's any outstanding contracts already in place.
So like, for instance,
For the question,
if this one were to sell, it would no longer be this.
I
It
see
would
it's not light
become-
green.
But is
It would become
nothing in the ordinance that says you can't live there? Because a lot of the people are living in that. I mean,
that's the issue
I see
with
it
the
every
current
day come
ordinance.
across the street as I'm trying to leave my,
But when the new ordinance goes into effect,
Yes.
it should be an RV park, but you can still enforce them just not living there permanently.
You could adopt
That would be tough.
oh,
We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, we'll help y'all figure it out, and with discussions with Lee, we will as well. Zoning is definitely like a long-term game, and that's the one sad thing about it, is it does take a little bit for it to actually be enforced. We've also talked with Shannon and Lee a lot about some of y'all's RV districts automatically fall under health and wellness issues, and also infrastructure issues, which most of the time gets them as a,
probably couldn't get a fire
overall.
truck down there
road.
Yeah, which can automatically kind of ties them into some other things, even in y'all's already existing ordinance. It just takes a lot of loopholes, and it's what the city is able to handle right now is the main question there. We're trying to make it that in the new ordinance, there's not going to have to be loopholes, and there's just going to be rules and regulations again.
Right. So if they don't follow, they're out.
Yes,
So really the
exactly.
ones that would stay would be here,
Marina.
here. And this is a whole nother story, and this is the golf course. So this, it's become public now, so right here by the bridge where the art, we know, where the boat ramp and stuff is. Those homes are gonna be going away by January. The lease is not, she's decided not to keep her lease. So I don't know what SRA is gonna do with it yet.
Sometimes SRA does sell that.
We all know they won't sell it.
No, I'm saying sometimes the golf course they may some days. They can.
So they're going to maintain a floodplain. So
Yeah.
if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
in the floodplain or the,
100-year.
that's typically what the boundary line is a floodplain.
Hopes is, my hopes, let me be specific, is that SRA will take and maintain that area because it will remain nice and taken care of. So at the moment, we have it as recreational.
Sorry, I'm just slowly going through more of these questions. For the question about the Board of Adjustments, I'm looking for
My
that.
question or theirs?
Your question was about council, right?
Do they have a question on Board of Adjustments?
Number 1.
Oh.
I wasn't familiar with that phrase, no wise, and I just was kind of curious what that meant.
Yeah, I'm trying. I need more of the text to be able to. Pretty much meaning that none of these laws would have any reason to go against what the board is saying. Is kind of the justification of that whole paragraph. Regarding expirations of the ordinances. So when it says, but conditions such in no wise have any force in law, that means that it would, once that was put in place, it should not compel the board in any way, one way or the other. Everything else should go with the way the rest of the ordinance is written.
Okay. Let's see, on 58.
That one can be changed. We just need to have that
Yeah,
discussion.
but we've also limited, the only place manufactured would be allowed is where the brown is on that map.
And I'm going to make this known both for y'all as the board and anybody that might be listening digitally. This is not a zoning map. This does not designate zoning. This is a future land use map.
Yes.
So this is just our ideas.
And it's proposed.
And it's proposed. This is all in draft. Nothing has been adopted. And even once this is adopted, it will not take into effect.
So currently, okay, so this is Fayetteville, Navajo, Aztec, Telephone Road. Currently, those all allow for manufacture. Only this would. Currently, this all allows for manufacture. It would not. So basically, how that remedies itself is that new thing where they could put one more on there, but after that, they would have to stick built. So eventually, the manufacturer will work its way out, is the goal. This is manufactured. This is also, right now, a mix, but it would become not manufactured. So we would only have here, this is where the RV sales place is. This is already planned to be manufactured going in, the same as how they've done here. So they're laid evenly, spaced and in a line with each other and designed. But those would be the only 3 areas in the city that would allow for manufacturing. So it's going to limit it a lot more.
Looking at the question about the minimum rear yards for the duplex, Right now, the way it's written is it's 7 feet for the main building and 8 feet for any accessory buildings.
One thing we have currently is we require 4 foot between our building and accessory.
Yes,
We need to make that 10.
that would be in the, I'll note that, that'll be in the AUs.
Because I know for commercial at least, it's now 10 is required. So we might as well make residential the same. 10 foot between your shed and your house is not that much distance. So,
Are we wanting to make the change of having regulations between a duplex district and a residential district? Because right now that's not written in. Right now it would be that they would have the same regulations all around. So it would be 7 feet side yard and 7 foot backyard.
how do we make our backyards bigger?
That exact sentence. You changed what that is.
So we require 25 in the front, can we not require 25 in the back too?
Legally, yes. Most likely. Well, I'm not an attorney, but yes, I don't see a reason why you couldn't. However, you start making development very hard in certain ways, because then you're requiring 50 feet when you add in the front and the back that somebody cannot put the house on.
But in that's pretty standard though, right? Because I've explored a lot of the zoning
See, I was looking
regulations
at a
over
lot
time,
of
like
them too. and I
Frisco's
was
30
wondering,
feet backyards, or 25 feet backyards, Plano's 30 foot backyards.
So do they put setbacks, or do they
Setbacks.
say you can't use more than this percentage of the
A
property?
combination, so it's setbacks 1.
Mhm.
And I think their setbacks is 25, 30, roughly, depending on the city.
I'd have to look at
And
this.
then, yeah, they do give a total lot coverage. And that's one thing, like their lot coverage in other cities is less than ours that we propose in here. So I do think it needs to come down. So right now we have 60%.
Mhm.
I haven't found anything over 50%.
I don't think we currently even allow 60%. I think ours is 45 or 50 currently.
And
I'll
I
have to
can
look.
and I can look at that as
I
well.
found it the other day.
One thing I will mention when looking at setback sizes, especially if we're comparing to cities like Plano, Frisco, and I don't mean this in a mean way, I'm trying to be as blunt with y'all being a city planner. Frisco and Plano are rich neighborhoods, that most of their lots are 15,000 square feet or more. That's kind of the bluntness of it. So even if you take 25 feet off the front and 25 feet off the back, you still have a very large area to build a home on. When you're living in West Tawakoni, where some of your lots are 4,800 square feet and or smaller, and you ask them to take 25 feet off the front and 25 feet off the back, you're giving them a very little building area.
Now they have no.
And so I say that with a grain of salt. I say that coming from an understanding standpoint of if we want backyards bigger, let's make backyards bigger. But I also say it from a standpoint of, does West Tawakoni want to develop? I know y'all want bigger lot sizes. I mean, I've been at multiple council meetings in the past couple months, so I know bigger lots are the desired effect. However, are we able to sustain bigger lots? The price point of what some of those bigger lots would be when it comes to buying land, having somebody put a development on it, and things like that, and all those questions kind of get ran into this discussion that we'll be having from today and onward.
This is Chris. So whenever you drive through Royce City there by Bucky's, all those new homes, I mean hundreds and hundreds of new homes. Between that, they got like 7 foot to the fence and then 7 foot from the fence to the next house.
Yeah.
They're just teeny little,
Mhm.
but people seem to be satisfied with that. And
It is all a how does the city want to develop, and also what conversations have you had with developers recently? What limitations do you want to put on developers? That's the main question there. I have nothing against making the backyards bigger. I mean, it could be done. And also taking into consideration that, anything that's facing the lake is automatically going to have a bigger backyard due to all those
So
things.
Sabine specs, yeah.
Yes.
So I agree with you. We can't obviously put the bigger setbacks on existing lots.
Yeah.
But when we're going to the new regulations where
Replanting.
yeah, 'cause I think most of our proposals were 100 feet to 120 feet deep, right?
Mhm.
I think we can do larger setbacks. I mean, it doesn't have to be 25 feet, it doesn't have to be 30 feet, but it could be 20 feet.
A little bit bigger, just so it's not so compact and
Yeah, 'cause
small.
right now we're 5, 5, and 5.
Yeah.
So
Sure,
we're
yeah, that's
just
way
10
too much.
feet between a house.
Yeah.
So even if we went 7.5, that puts 15 feet between a house.
Yes, and that's where you're staying, well, we're at 7
Which is
right
good,
now.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, or 7. I know 7 and 7.5 were common numbers I was seeing.
Yeah.
For side yards. Or side setbacks, I should say.
Yeah, and we can look at that more. I will definitely keep that in note for just conversation overall as we keep going through this.
Part of that's for fire purposes.
Oh, yeah.
We have a volunteer fire department where a lot of the bigger cities have, paid full-time, round-the-clock fire departments. Ours is volunteer. And while they do a very good job of getting to the fires, there's always that possibility with volunteer that they won't.
Yeah.
It could all be at work.
Yeah. Most of our cities that we work with are still volunteer too.
And so when these new regulations go into place, are we, trying to think of how to say this, so when we're building these new houses, and do we have any codes in place where they have to build firewalls in between the houses even if they're close together? I mean,
They just have to
they're going to be separated,
They
but,
just have to meet the international codes we have adopted.
well, maybe
Whatever
that's,
those require is what we require. We haven't modified them. Some cities, a lot of the bigger cities will modify to become very, very specific. We have not done that.
well, and.
So there's no amendments written to any code book for the city?
I'm sorry.
There's no amendments written to the code books for the city?
Not for the international codes, there is not.
And I will mention, just from my standpoint, like Shannon said, bigger cities typically have that. It's also important to take into consideration whenever we're discussing a lot of the things with the zoning ordinance of what is the capacity of the city to be able to handle and enforce as well. To some extent, we like to put more rules in there than can be enforced because we want them there just in case. We want to keep the city safe. But at some point, we also want to make sure that we're not overburdening the staff, the police department, et cetera, if necessary. Fire department as well, meaning bigger setbacks on the sides.
But we also don't want to make it where they won't build,
Right.
because we need that. At the same time, we don't have a lot of property left to build. I mean, a lot of our property is already divided. So you take sections, when you're talking about dividing or new zoning with bigger lots, you have sections like here, Penny Mark's here, here, here. These could be subdivided at some point. But most of our areas are already platted. And the only way those would go bigger is if people voluntarily decided to replat 2 lots into one, or so that's one of the problems we're going to run into, especially with a lot of that SF2 area, which is the primary ones. All these little ones you see bunched up, those were already all required to be 4,800 square foot. I can tell you, like in Hell's Retreat, a lot of those lots are 4,000 square foot. They don't even meet the minimum zoning. So when people want to build on them, they have to come get a variance that the city has to issue based on a city caused hardship, because we caused that. They were platted before we zoned it.
And that is particularly why we're keeping the SF2, renaming it to SF 4.8 in the new ordinance in order to not create another hardship that the city would have to do variances for.
Just because we have it doesn't mean we have to create it.
Yes.
So
We just need it for the pre-existing, that it won't fall into any other categories.
So anytime a variance is requested for an existing lot, it has to go to a board for approval? Like it can't be administrative? So it can't be administratively approved?
No. So any variance has to go before P&Z, and then it goes before council. Replats, rezones, site plans, variances, annexations, what am I missing?
So, but even if the variance on our new code, but not, it still conforms to the old code, it still has to go to the boards? So I'm almost thinking we need to write something in, like if it still conforms to the old zoning, that could be administratively approved.
If it's not been purchased, it would still go with the old zoning, and it wouldn't need an approval.
Okay.
But some of those lots in Hell's Creek will need an approval no matter what.
Right.
because they don't meet the current that we have now. They were too small when the zoning was put in place. But they still have to show that they can put a minimum 1,000 square foot house on there, maybe 2-story, maybe 3-story, but they have to be able to do it in setbacks.
I'm looking at the next page, starting at the top, the question on 2 design guideline sections for downtown/central business district. Those are just 2 different title options for the same district. It's just some cities choose to call it downtown, and some cities choose to call it a central business district, depending on their political agenda and what grants they want to go for. Is all that means. We provide cities with 2 different names, and they get to choose which one they want. It's also because some of our cities will have a downtown, and then they will also have a central business district. And so they want to they don't want to name it a downtown district because they actually want it for this over here and not this over here. You also see this used whenever you want a central business district and you want to do a downtown overlay instead. It's the only reason why both titles are in there. Y'all can kind of choose which title y'all would prefer to use, which one works best for the city. The next one is the landscaping. I see the note that this seems excessive. If that's the feeling for most of council, council, Pansy, Shannon, everybody, we can definitely go through and cut some of that out. However, I will note, again, zoning is not really for the day-to-day homeowner, and especially the landscaping section. That is mainly for new plats, and so that would be affecting your developers coming in. And the whole discussion that I was here for the past few months of don't take down the trees. If you take down the trees, you need to replace the trees. If you do this, you need to do that. That's kind of what then the developer has to hold itself to. And that's why we're so strict on it. It's also part of just a green movement, and that's why it's so strict. However, like I said at the beginning, upon all of y'all's review, if y'all want to limit it, we can and kind of take some stuff out of it. For the swimming pools, I see the note that you thought it was 6 feet. I will definitely look into it. I think the city can... It is 4 feet?
I think it's 4 foot.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's 4 feet, depending on the insurance that you hold. It could be 6 feet. I know mine is 5
Your
feet.
insurance may require it,
Yes,
yes.
my
But the city and the code,
yeah.
the international code only requires 4 foot. But it has to have like a self-locking mechanism on the gate. However, here's where it gets tricky. Above ground pools are their own fence. Now, as a city, we require an additional fence. But per state or federal, above ground pools are their own fence. The ladder has to be removed.
Yes.
Because most children cannot climb over an above ground pool without a ladder. As a city, though, we still require a fence around it, which is something I eventually do in these.
I will double check that. But yeah, so there's the answer to that one. I was going to say I'll look into it, but I'm pretty sure that by international code it's 4 feet, but most state insurances in Texas require it to be 5 or higher, I think. My personally does. I have a pool in it. Yeah, we just bought a house, and so I had to learn all those fun things recently with our insurance company. So that answers all those questions. I know a lot of y'all probably haven't had time to review the whole thing, but is there any other questions, zoning or subdivision regulation wise, that I can answer for y'all before hopping into the future land use?
I was reading about it, and then there were several pages that dealt with penalties.
Mm-hmm.
So if they goof up, they got to tear it down and or pay so much a day till it's fixed. And
Yep.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
all kinds of stuff.
That's pretty
They
much.
can have tickets, they can have to remove it.
Mm-hmm. It's there for the city to use in the scenario in which they need to use it, is the way I put it. It gives y'all the ability to hold up to those penalties. Of course, kind of in the same way as some EDCs work. If there's a discussion that's had in a contract that's written in a mutual agreement, as long as Lee approves of it, of course, some of those penalties can be subsided for certain reasons if the board so chooses. However, most of the time, especially in cities like this, you want to have those penalties in place to try to get some of the unsafe things out of town and try to just get movement going in the proper direction.
So when this comes out, are you going to set penalty fees? Who's going to set the fees?
The courts do.
Huh?
The court,
The court?
the judge does,
Okay.
which we have. We have quite a few now.
And so I hope I'm not overwhelming y'all today as well, because this is just one discussion of like probably 16 or more in the next coming
And
months.
feel free to like email me
Yes.
notes and questions and
Yes.
stuff, because I'll forward them to her too.
Yes. And every time I'll just come back with more and more and more.
Yeah, it'll help us get changes kind of in between as you guys, when we get an idea of what we need to be doing too.
And I want to make it record both for y'all, for the sanity, and for anybody that might be listening, that this is not enforced yet at all. None of this is being enforced. All of this is still in discussion. At the end of the day, y'all could decide not to do this. So just for legal reasons, I like to say that, because I don't want anybody to think that, oh my goodness, they're coming in and they're doing all this stuff, when none of that's happened. We're just talking. Nothing's been adopted.
So when's the
Everything's
deadline?
safe. There's no deadline.
Really?
Our contract ends, I think, technically 6 months, but we will stay here until it's done.
Until it's finished.
Until it's finished, and we will help y'all through it, to just discuss the process so everybody is on the same page. As I mentioned previously, we're working on this future land use map with Jacob Martin. Once we get this through y'all, we take it back through council one more time and council approves it. The comprehensive plan will be ready for adoption, which requires some public notices for the actual comp plan itself. Once that comprehensive plan is adopted, then we have the ability to actually start zoning and zoning discussions. And so I'll come back and forth with y'all as we revise the zoning ordinance the same way I'll do with developers coming back with plats. And then once we kind of get to a mutual understanding on the zoning ordinance, y'all will make a recommendation to council. I'll go back and forth with council a few times, get their feedback, and then we'll start the actual adoption process. And that takes time in of itself, takes a lot of work on Shannon, and the city staff in general to send out public notices and hearings and all those kinds of things. So, yes,
Has your company done some cities around here, some small towns, or?
we've done towns all over the state.
They do a lot of them.
Yeah.
Grandview is one that they did the subdivision ordinance on.
Yes, we did subdivision, we did a comp plan, I think we even did zoning for them as well. Van Alstyne, which is a little bit more north of here, we're working on theirs currently too, helping them with their comp plan, and then partner with one of the developers, one of the planners up there on their zoning ordinance. South Maid's over here somewhere. We have about 47. We have 47 across the state right now that we're working with. I would love to send you a map, but off the top of my head, I can't
Just
remember.
like
the
Van
map.
Alstyne, I mean, that'd be interesting. I mean, that place is probably booming.
Yeah, they're an interesting one right now. Thankfully for them, they're not doing a whole rewrite. They're just doing an update to their current zoning ordinance, and we're working with LLC Planning, Texas Planner, and he's helping us kind of with that rewrite because he's more local to their area and has been working on it prior to us coming in. But we've wrote multiple, I mean, like Shannon said, Grandview's been a long time client of ours that we've worked with. And we have multiple others.
They have a really good subdivision ordinance.
You didn't send that to us, right?
I did not.
I gave that to her today. That's on me. It still says Grandview on it. It's not, yeah.
It's one that was recommended to us, and we pulled and looked at it, and then I called her and I was like, hey, this is a really good one. Can we look at this?
And I responded, we wrote
Turns
that.
out they wrote it.
Yeah. So, makes it easier. But yeah.
So, is the subdivision ordinance going to discuss all the development fees and stuff like that
Yes.
we're to be collecting? Or do we
Not
have those
exactly
yet?
the fees, but I can go
Because I didn't see
fees
any fee
won't.
schedule in zoning or anything
Fees
else.
will be separate, but it'll lay out our feasibility and our civil infrastructure reviews
I'll
and
just hand you that. That's kind of the table of contents. of
things
what
where
it
we're
will-
now requiring like our topos, the watersheds, and the final grade surveys and all of that. It'll fall in those. All the stuff that we're doing.
And again, this is another it's a draft. And so any changes that need to be added or made, we will be more than happy to make them. All of these are working
And I
documents.
actually have that on my computer, so.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe I just.
I had it
this whole
when,
thing.
I had it when I called you.
Oh, did you? You're ahead of the game. I had to go find it. I had to go sifting through our files.
Oh, I
It was
sent
from
it to you.
2018.
I didn't know that.
I emailed my boss and I said, did we write? Because I have not been working there that long. And I was like, did we write Grandview? And he goes, we should have. And I was like, well, that's a great answer. And so then I went back and found it, and yeah, we had. And so that's that, which y'all can review as y'all would like. Shannon can send it to you as well. and it's also a working document.
Again, it'll say Grandview on it right now.
Yeah, it'll say Grandview, it'll mention other roads, it'll do all those kinds of things, saying with that's an issue in this one in some areas as well. All that will be fixed. There's also some issues of references. I don't know how closely y'all read it, but it'll say reference section, blah, 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 and that section won't exist because we'll do all those once it's done and we've added and subtracted everything we've wanted to. So. Any more questions about that?
Thank you very much.
Of course. I'm sadly not going to walk away. You have to listen to me talk longer. So now we're going to look to the left. Well, you're right, my left. And we're going to look at this map, and I want y'all to pick it apart, is my all honesty. So this is the future land use map. This is what will end up informing the zoning map in the end. By state regulations, the zoning map must be in accordance with the comprehensive plan and with the future land use map. So while you can make some differences between a zoning map and a land use map, you're not allowed to just completely throw it out the window when we start drawing up zoning. So keep that in mind. This is what was designed based off my planners at our office, what we kind of thought. Also, it's gone through council once already with some of their comments. It's gone through Shannon once with her comments. And we just want y'all to pick it apart and tell me what you think. Keeping in mind when we discuss future land use, that means like 20 to 30 years. This is like picture perfect, ideal world, what would happen if we could make all the decisions and had all the money.
So, what are the orange things? Are those going to be penitentiaries? Or?
Those are multifamily. So
Multifamily.
currently, like right now, this is the townhomes, $100 dental, so that's multifamily. This is currently a manufactured park.
I've
On
been
Rabbit
I've
Cove
been
Road
there,
by
yeah.
the bridge, just not at the edge of our city limits. That would become multifamily should it sell. It would be a really nice place to put like apartments or something.
So, down by the 2 Mile Bridge, what's the light blue stuff? Is that just Sabine?
Light blue is public, so that's anything that the city currently owns. Fire station, police department, city parks.
That is actually,
That's all right.
yeah, that's SRA.
Well, does it have a city thing on it?
That's SRA. We don't know.
But do you have a city thing on it?
No.
What's on it?
I think the
And
purple.
this is Lovely RV currently.
We've had that discussion.
We
plenty of
haven't
times.
marked as public.
Really? RV is right here. That one's public.
Oh, that's fire department then?
Yes.
Okay.
We've
so
had
this
that
would be-
discussion a
but
lot.
This over here is Sabine.
Is it a park?
Nothing.
I would suggest that we turn it into a wildlife refuge.
So recreational.
I think the storage building's on the lease back on.
I was about to
If
say,
they
I
have-
think, if I remember, there's something.
Fox Technologies bought this.
Yeah.
And I think they might be planning to use this. Like they may be doing lease back on it, I'm not sure.
Is that 40 acres that was right on the lake?
On the right hand side of the bridge.
It still has a sign up there that says development company. Been there for, what, 5 years?
Oh, yeah, because they were gonna put something there at one point and they
And
never
who you
did.
say,
And
do you
wanna
say
change-
the Purplish owns that?
Vox Technologies owns the purple area. And
And
I
that
was
they'll lease
under
back?
the impression they were gonna do the lease back on that. I could be
I'm
wrong.
sure they would, if they
Could
could.
be wrong, don't hold me to that.
And what is that? What are they?
Vox, it's a technology company based in Richmond. They want to move their entire company out here.
What do they
It
do?
would not be bad. So, and they actually came and spoke to
Good
council
stuff.
at one point. So they build all kinds of stuff. There would not be a lot of traffic in and out of there. It would be essentially a warehouse, but not, when you say warehouse, you think big metal building. That's not what they're looking at.
Isn't
They're
it-
looking at
it's
some
like a
front
li-
building.
It's electronics though, right?
Yes.
Right.
They plan to work closely with the schools, scholarships, things like that. They at one point were talking about putting in hydroponic gardens that the high school kids would actually use.
It's a
They would
40,000
maintain,
square foot
Um,
structure.
they would learn the agricultural end. So them coming in is not a bad thing. It actually will do a lot for our city and it will help a lot of the kids too, I think, in the long run.
How do you spell that? VOX?
VOX.
Colleges.
And you said, I just looked on the map, it's undeveloped, we'll fix it on that one.
Correct. It's
Before
undeveloped.
before y'all adopt, we'll fix it on that
Yeah,
one.
blue is undeveloped.
Oh, no, blue is, oh,
Over there.
yes,
That
over
blue
there.
is undeveloped.
What do you want it to be? Do we want to market industrial for Vox in the future? Do we want
You know that whole business park thing we were talking about?
on land use, we'd still market, on future land use, we'd still market industrial, on zoning, it would go business.
Okay.
All this agriculture is in the city?
No, so the dark black line
is our city
is the
limits.
city limits,
Oh,
or if
okay.
you look over here, this boundary is the city limits. Legally, you are allowed to plan within the ETJ as of
Right.
when I'm speaking to
Currently.
you right now. Tomorrow, that might be wrong.
Yes.
But as I'm speaking to you right now, you are allowed to plan within the ETJ. Does not mean you're allowed to enforce, but as long as you're planning out there, it's telling developers what you want and gets you a little bit, a step closer to future discussions.
All of the reddish color is gonna be commercial. Brown is manufactured. Pink is multi-use, correct? Yes.
Yes.
Orange is multifamily. Blue is public, so like our fire department, our city park, our chamber. I know I'm missing colors.
This is the city park.
Light green is recreational, correct?
Yes.
Dark green is agricultural. Yellow, single family, single
That's,
family.
that's industrial.
Industrial.
Wow, wouldn't it be kind of a waste of
I thought the same thing, big warehouse right by the lake.
all that water?
Well, it'll go in the purple, but it's not like a big metal warehouse. This is like a big, it'll be rock front, nice building. They're not talking about just throwing up a metal, because I was like, oh gosh.
No, I was thinking something.
One-
Lake Ray Hubbard.
A one-story or two-story building?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
For office or manufacturing or
Well, their offices would be located there also. They plan to move their entire
their
company.
entire company's going?
They also plan to purchase homes or build homes here for the families that,
How many people they bring?
I don't know.
Relevant Estate Holdings is the name of who owns it. Search them up.
But Vox Technologies is the company that would go there. It's the name of the company.
So so basically the yellow,
Richardson.
any of the proposed SFs that you have in here, if you go in any of those locations, based on like the future
For
land use,
future
and
land
then we
use-
come, or,
Yes, so for future land use, you only mark single family. You don't designate in between the
okay,
districts.
so you're gonna come later and designate a proposed zoning.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So we do not start work on the zoning map whatsoever until all of this is adopted. That's just the legal process that we have to follow. But you are correct. Anything that is in yellow will be divided in between those five categories. I don't remember the five we just discussed a second ago. 5 categories, which are SF 4.8, SF 6.0, SF 8.0, SF 10.0, and SF 12.0.
Which, those are square feet.
Yes.
The 4,800, the 6,000, the 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. So technically, right now, we currently have 2 6,000s. So one of those would become 8,000, and then we would be adding the 10,000 to kind of give us the ability to have bigger lots. But not require them all to be 12,000 square foot, because that's too big for some of them.
And so all those will get divided in between those areas accordingly. Of course, the areas that have historical reasons on them would get marked as at 4.8. Any new development areas will mark greater, etc.
So do you have this on PDF?
Yes, sir.
Can you send it to us
Will I send it to you?
to look at?
This one?
No.
No,
Okay, I'll send you the new one.
I don't have the new one.
She has the PDF of the one that went before council, but I will send you the PDF of
Just
that.
help be able to look at it and see what district's creating.
So if we're looking ahead, why are we not planning in the agricultural areas? So we've got just residential all around it, but we're just doing leave out. Why wouldn't we plan ahead?
We can go ahead. That is completely up to y'all on planning ahead. The reasoning on our side is part of the comprehensive plan that we wrote is we looked at population. We did a full population study. When I come back next time, I hope to present to y'all the comprehensive plan as well, as y'all haven't gotten to see it officially yet. And
There's actually not that much agricultural in the city limits.
no, there's not.
It's literally right.
Yeah, most of it is in the ETJ.
All the rest of it's outside city limits.
But even then, the reason why we
So
did
that's out.
designate it outside the city limits
Anything
is when
outside
we
that
ran the
line?
population
I got the black
projections, we
line.
can see
Only
the
goes around
city
it.
increasing in population to the level in which
Empties
that
all that out of
agricultural
there.
land would be switched over.
That's the donut hole.
Wow. How did they
But,
get out of the
But
city
if somebody
limits?
were to come
They didn't wanna
in,
be in
buy
the
a piece
city
of property and say, oh, I want
When
to
it
make it
was
residential
built, yeah.
subdivision. But if
They
it were locked
can't
into ag,
extend.
would we be able
Yeah.
to?
As long as they're
It is
touching the
not-
city limit.
You are allowed
They
to plan in
can't
the
extend.
ETJ,
Right.
but
So
it is not
say
locked into
This
it.
guy wants to.
And I even say that with a slight grain of salt, that if the legislation decides to turn that, we might not have any ability to do anything in the
Yeah,
So we
ETJ.
if it
can't
was,
go to them and
it's
say,
county
hey,
now, so the
do
city's
you want to
got no
annex in this?
jurisdiction.
Right, but if they wanted to
Say,
annex,
hey,
right.
I want to
And that would
annex.
be the first
What
thing.
do I need?
And if they wanted to
And then I
annex,
can explain it to them. Until then, I can.
What
and
do
if
they
they,
gain by annexing with the city?
They become inside city. So their water rates, their sewer rates would become inside city rates. They have access to police and fire.
So they gain
get
something
some
for
stuff.
being
They
annexed.
also become permitted and, you know,
I thought I've heard times where the city,
Enforced.
when annexed,
You can't do that
we
anymore.
cannot do that.
Oh.
can't do that anymore. They
It
have to
used to.
come to us. We cannot ask them. We cannot suggest it to them. We can't do anything. They have to come to us and say, hey, I want to be in your city limits. How do I do this?
And even then,
No, I thought I heard that.
Yeah.
The city used to
Stipulations.
do it, so I guess now they can't do that.
they changed it back
It's a
about
whole
6
process.
years ago, and then even in the last 2 legislative cycles, they've made it even more restrictive. This current legislative cycle is trying to make it even more restrictive. Us at PMI are holding our breath very hard because we have a lot of small cities that are going to get affected depending on what decisions are made. So,
Kinda like
but that's
that
the
giant
reasoning.
Farm in the middle of Plano.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's annexed now, but
But we
Agri.
can change it if you so please. It's just from our planning perspective. I mean, we did change a lot of what is already ag in the city. So if you look at this map, there was a lot of ag that already existed that we ended up changing to single family commercial. One of the options to plan for that population increase. We just didn't expect it to increase to that level.
And when they came in, they realized how much it was already increasing. This you
so
went,
we
oh,
want
wow.
commercial for not very much residential.
It's actually when you're looking at land area, there is a little bit of a discrepancy there. You were 100% correct. If you're looking at the number of lots that are stuffed into some of those single family areas, however, it evens itself out a tiny bit. The main reason the commercial is where it's at is as planners, we pretty much always take your frontage property on any main highway and turn it commercial. Because that is going to be your most high paying, your most tax collecting pieces of property that are going to increase the economic development of the city to the highest level.
Like the road that runs by Dollar General.
Maze Lane.
Yeah, so, like those could be commercial downstairs, but people live upstairs
Yes.
like an apartment. So
Like
it could be
mixed
that
use.
kind of runway too,
Yeah.
like Rowlett
Turn that with
has.
pink.
Yeah, so the whole goal of that was myself and Dalton, the other planner that I work with, were sitting in the office after we came to West Tawakoni and did all the field work, and we're like, you know how cool it would be if down Maze Lane, that was their downtown district. And we kind of were like, I don't know if they'd go for that, but we went ahead and put it on there anyway. It's just maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't. I guess we'll see, because it's definitely one of y'all's future thoroughfares. I mean, there's no question about it. It's one of y'all's current thoroughfares. And so we ran
It's
commercials on it.
it's worked well for Rowlett. I
Mhm.
mean, they've done that with their old downtown area and it's busy.
Yeah, yeah. And so here we can mark it as commercial for now, and that can always change. I mean, for your zoning, mixed use is a form of commercial. So you're not going against your future land use map at all, if that's something that's decided. It could also be if the discussion is actually had that West Tawakoni does want to develop a downtown, there is a downtown district in y'all's zoning ordinance that y'all could use, and y'all could zone it as that for future development as well. But there is a lot of commercial. I completely agree with you. And the main reason that is for is that a lot of these parcels, really realistically, only this much would be commercial. But because the parcel extends as far back as it does, that increases the property area that is commercial. I've discussed with Shannon, and Dalton and I were at a land use conference a couple weeks ago for the state, and we were discussing with some of the big, planners statewide, and they were recommending for West Tawakoni's case using a form of horizontal mixed use.
Yep.
So that's not going into split zoning, because split zoning is its own tricky question. It is legal. We did figure out that answer. Split zoning is legal. We have a lot of it. But it is very hard on the city to handle and to regulate.
So why can't you zone part of a parcel residential and part of the parcel residential?
Commercial and residential.
Yeah.
We actually have some that are
Yeah,
done
so
that way.
So
So
that's
you just
considered.
basically split it up.
Yeah, so that's considered split zoning. That's what I'm discussing currently.
Which we
It
were
is-
very specific, like, when it's split like that with us,
Mhm.
and it's been something that we've done since I've been here, it states the first 200 feet for commercial, the rest is SF, whatever we did it as.
And so the only we can do it. I just don't think me and the
But a developer
professionals.
could come in and buy that lot and say, oh, I only want to make 200 feet commercial, and then the back portion residential or something, and it could be actually zoned that way by like a
Yes.
meets and bounds type
Well,
zoning.
so this is the discussion that Shannon and I have been having for the past couple of months. There's option A, which is split zoning, like you discussed before, where you just put two different districts on the same parcel, which works. It is technically legal in the state of Texas. However, it is much harder. It requires you to have a surveyor come out, requires the city to have a surveyor on call if they ever wanted to try to see that somebody was violating that type of split zoning. Also causes a lot of confusion moving on down the line if somebody wanted to buy the whole parcel and didn't want to do that. Causes a few issues internally, externally, all around, and has started to be phased out of most zoning ordinances in the state of Texas. The option that we have been discussing with other professionals in the field, not at PMI, other cities, other areas, was horizontal mixed use. And so it's the same thing. It's pretty much saying that in your code, you regulate that the first 500 feet, 200 feet, 250 feet is commercial. From there back, that it is residential, multifamily, whatever option you so choose. And you also get to set a lot more regulations there. And it makes it to where the two pieces, instead of putting commercial and residential right beside each other like you would if you're split zoning, it makes it that you're able to write the district to where they actually merge with each other and become one cohesive unit and have a good flow from one to the other. Versus if you had split zoning, hypothetically, somebody could put a warehouse on the front of it, build a 7-foot buffer, and then build residential right on the backhand of it. Using horizontal mixed use gives you more tools to make those developments look nicer and work better.
So you're doing like Hall Business Park, where they've got all the high rises going in, they got subdivisions of off
Yes.
the main runs, but
Mhm.
mainly commercial district and then neighborhoods right behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're still looking at that. That is not currently in y'all's ordinance because PMI has not worked with horizontal mixed use in the past. However, like I said, we are actively trying to figure out more about it, figure out what would be the best way to write it for West Tawakoni's needs, because we do think that there's a lot of parcels there that would benefit from that type of zoning. In the discussion of future land use, it would be commercial. And then whenever we go into zoning, we start making those changes.
Okay, so but at this point, we're not locking them into forcing them to use commercial
No,
all the
sir.
way back up into those residential lots, right?
No, sir. Not at all.
But I would think as a developer, if I saw that it
Well,
was
they're never
back
gonna
that
develop
far,
that.
as a commercial person, if I wanted that all to be commercial or whatever, they have that opportunity because they're buying it that way.
Maybe, but I don't know many commercial developers that would be able to do anything with that.
Yeah.
It would just be empty in the back.
I also want to note that, like you said, this is not how they're buying it. This is how the city is planning for it. And those are two very different discussions and very different things. The city can plan for it one way and it be set a different way. So that's where your line between future land use and zoning comes into play. So this is more the plan, this is the idea, but what the developer actually comes in and buys is whatever we put into the zoning ordinance. So is there anything else on this map that y'all want to change? I mean, I heard the discussion of maybe too much ag within the city limits.
There's really not much though.
There's 3 parcels.
Is there anything, Shannon, that you and I didn't resolve from the last time we brought this up?
I don't think so.
Does everyone
Doesn't
have?
that townhomes, don't they own more land than that?
They currently,
Own all the way down to here.
and then currently they only have built this
Right.
portion of all that.
But
This
it
is
kind of
your
looks
existing-
like they want to keep continuing
They
if they
don't
never
know
start
what they
selling.
Well, they're not selling, so.
Right,
I don't think they're selling.
right. But if they ever, it looks like that was their plan.
I think they're renting most of them.
I think
Yeah.
they had no choice. They weren't selling.
The prices were too high for
Yeah.
townhouses way out here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
And
I mean,
the
they're
ad,
nice,
Actually, that was
but
supposed to be a park.
Whenever the ad would come through Facebook, you had a lakefront view.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. I'm like, they can't be talking about those.
Oh,
But those
that's
are the only
three-story
townhomes I
job.
could find.
maybe if you get on the roof, maybe. Yeah.
But actually, the
The
way
winter.
prices are going, they're starting to come to the numbers that they,
Is there what?
the way prices are going.
Houston Place
Right.
in front of Indian Oaks is Houston Place. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that would be it, right? Yep, that would be this back piece.
Just the
right
back
here.
piece. Okay.
The front piece is,
Commercial.
it's commercial, but it's vacant right now. I mean, there's a building there, but there's nothing in it.
Do you want to keep that multifamily on the,
I don't think those apartments
Future?
are going anywhere.
I'll switch that.
But if they sell, I live right
I
behind them.
I have opinions.
No wonder you call.
I don't see them selling them.
Well, I know.
Oh, okay, I know where you're talking.
I don't-
She's been selling lots of
I don't see her
properties.
Yeah, but that one brings in. I don't
Yeah.
see that one selling. She's been selling a lot of the vacant properties.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll switch
You
that.
know, it's just, Chris, it's just, before you leave our neighborhood, you take that last left.
No, I know yet.
Those
The-
Where they put the new little houses.
There used to be a
Yeah.
barbecue
Yeah.
place in front of it, and before that it was a laundromat and a convenience store. I don't
Actually,
know
that
what it
barbecue
was
place
before
wasn't
that.
too bad, it was a long time ago.
Never tried it. It was already closed when I got here. When I came back, it was already gone. When I was a kid, it was a laundromat. and-
So this is really kind of just suggestion.
Yes.
Right
What
now.
we want to suggest to,
Yes, what you want to suggest to future developers, what you want to market the city as is also kind of a way we put it is like, you know, your zoning is, this is what's here today, this is, you know, the regulations we enforce. Future zoning is kind of like the future land use is what we're open for, what we're hoping happens with the city. More of those lines.
I'm wondering, behind those, like I said, those townhomes, I mean, why not carry that all? I mean, with an investor, I mean, a big old thing of townhomes or something.
That's what's, my understanding is that's what's supposed to go. There's, some people have plans to put townhomes between the highway and the golf course.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah,
that
But
the
that's
pink?
not marked there either.
Yes.
Let's see.
Oh, that's pinkish,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was Mark Pink from discussions that were being had before I came in.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot going in that whole area. right now. A lot. There's even multifamily going in out there. We have a 36 unit, 42 unit multifamily going in.
And
A lot of
both,
squeezing.
both those areas? I mean, in, front of the, by the golf course?
Basically, this is the road that goes into, want to make sure I'm right. Okay, this is the road that goes into the golf course right now.
Is that 18 or is that number 9? No, I'm just teasing.
Couldn't tell you. This is gonna be multifamily. It'll go this way and this way. A 36 and a 42. This will be restaurant slash retail, gas station slash liquor. Then over here, this is actually divided 4 more times. It's
Yeah, that
gonna be a
one we-
hotel.
Yeah.
I think event center, I think retail, I think restaurant, not positive on those. And there's a road that's gonna run right here. And then all of this is where they were talking about, all of this is where they were talking about putting townhomes, and then the city owns this piece right here.
So I need to change that over to public.
Cause that was a gentleman who came in last month,
Yes.
developer. Yeah.
Yes, change it. Yeah, there's no
It
one.
is that, to answer your question, that was the gentleman that came in and kind of wanted to get an idea if you guys would even be open to it.
So those are all my discussion points today. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your evening, but I hope I was somewhat entertaining because you will see a lot of me in the future. So if y'all don't have any other comments, we'll take, these ones. What I have written down here is that the one apartment building to the north by Indian Oaks needs to be changed to multifamily. The one parcel within the mixed use needs to be changed to public. The blue behind Vox Technologies needs to be changed to industrial, which for the purposes of discussion here on the actual zoning, it will not be industrial. We will be marking it as business park because that is more accurate to what it will be, and also would put more restrictions on landscaping, buffer zones, making it look prettier than typical industrial parcels are, but for future land use purposes.
And it sounds better.
For future land use purposes, it goes industrial.
So you're making the blue around the purple more purple?
Yes.
But it's part of it, because it's the lease back for that lot, so.
I think it is. Again, I could be wrong on that.
I would think it is also.
I think it would have to be, because
I mean,
No,
if you
they're
put
perfect.
anything
Ordering it,
permanent
so
on it,
yeah,
they're not gonna let you.
Mm-mm. No, you would have to get trees out.
unless they just didn't renew a lease, so.
Next time we come out, we'll come out also with a floodplain map. I don't think we've came out with that recently yet. And we'll kind of, we should know that yet.
I have a topo.
No, we'll come out with a FEMA floodplain map that we'll kind of overlay on top of this the next time I come out to let y'all kind of see
I know how to.
what the actual development would be able to do in those areas with the floodplain. Huh?
How far it can go.
Yeah. We were actually baffled when we pulled up y'all's FEMA
It's
floodplain map
weird.
for the first time. Such little land in the floodplain, but then we have some cities that have more than y'all that are in the middle of West Texas. It's crazy.
It's studied, right?
It's
Because
the
it says
it's
alright,
the
so.
FEMA map.
It's the FEMA map.
I know, but
Yeah.
is the FEMA map is it real map, or is it their,
As my
is it
aware,
studied?
It's flood
Yeah.
zone map.
yeah, my understanding it is the FEMA map that's been adopted by the federal agencies from information from state agencies such as Sabine
And you
and
go on the
studies.
FEMA website. and find
Right.
it.
I'm saying FEMA basically, did they just put together a broad map of what they think the floodplain is, unless it's studied, and it should tell you on there if it's studied or not. Studied means it's the true floodplain. If it's not studied, it means it's a prediction of your floodplain.
I'm pretty sure y'all's is studied because y'all's also include the floodway in certain areas, which I
It
think
should be,
requires.
given that they build a lake around it. So
Yeah.
It should be studied.
So I'm pretty sure y'all's is studied. I will take a second look. Either way, we put it over top just to help guide discussions a little bit more and make sure we're not, planning for major things in areas that developers aren't going to be able to develop.
I hope that Wichita Bay has a good flood plain plan on theirs because I kayaked through that area a lot, and when we had all that rain last year, the year before, there was a whole new waterway through there that wasn't there before, so it's kind of interesting.
Theirs was all designed and engineered by Jacob and Martin.
Is there any more questions for me that I can answer and or help or provide guidance on what the next few months are going to look like?
No, I think that's kind of a,
Okay.
Enough for one day. No.
Yeah, we kept it to an hour. Y'all are doing better than some of I think one of the council meetings I was at was more like 2 or 3.
Midnight.
Yeah, we were here for a
There was a
while.
couple of them. One was like 10:30, one was like 11:30 midnight. Yeah.
Okay.
I've had a few of these go till 10 o'clock at night too.
Hopefully I won't do that to y'all. I'll tell her to put me on either a special session or
Move it
one
up to
that
6 o'clock.
is, we'll move me early, special session, workshop, push me back a month, something like that. I'll try not to keep y'all too late.
I'll start sending my reviews to her. To
Okay.
have a
Yeah,
better
by all
time.
means, send me stuff
Yes.
because we can kind of work on it in the background and then bring it back.
Yeah.
Which will go a lot smoother.
So next time when I come out, I'm probably purely just gonna talk comp plan. I'm gonna keep zoning zoning and subregs out of it until we adopt, just to be safe and to make sure we're all clear on the main goal at hand. And hopefully in the next 3 months, I say, really, really hopefully, we adopt the comp plan with Jacob Martin, and we adopt the future land use map, and then I'll come back and we'll start some more focused zoning discussions, and that's when we get to start building the zoning map and all those fun things.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 9, discuss and/or action to approve or deny planning and zoning minutes for April 3rd, 2025. Anybody have a comment or discussion or motion?
I motion we accept it unless anybody's got a question.
I second that emotion. No.
Motion by Cecilia, second by Chris Weary. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Moving on to item number 10, citizens input related to non-agenda items. You get anything? All right. All right, well, moves us on to item number 11. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn and call it a night.
Motion by Chris Fonwitz,
I second.
second by Crystal. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And that motion carries unanimous.
Thank you for coming.
Good
Yes,
night.
thank you.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. Don't go home with your,
Oh, yeah.
with your.
Right here.